Good evening, I'm Ryan Bonazzo.
And I'm Catalina Gillies. New details are emerging regarding a fatal car crash on Thunder Bay's north side on Friday night.
City police and first responders received a call after two vehicles collided at the corner of Red River Road and Hill Street. Police arrived on scene to find a city firefighter performing CPR on a 25-year-old man who was a passenger in the Jeep. He was pronounced dead soon after he was brought to hospital. The other two people involved were a 23-year-old male driver of the Jeep and a 57-year-old male driver of the other vehicle. Acting Traffic Sergeant Sal Carchidi provided an update today on the investigation.
The investigation's in the very early stages right now. Our initial investigation appears that an eastbound passenger car left its lane of travel, colliding with the other involved vehicle. But it's still very early stages of our investigation and no charges have been laid at this point.
The identity of the deceased is not being made public at this time. Police are still looking for eyewitnesses to the crash to help with the investigation.
There are new COVID-19 cases being reported at two local high schools. Yesterday, the Catholic Board was advised of a positive case associated with St. Ignatius. Affected families and staff at the school have been notified. The case also impacts one bus cohort. There's also a new case associated with Westgate High School as well. Lakehead Public Schools says it's working with the health unit to investigate, and that impacted students and families will be contacted directly by public health. Overall, the Thunder Bay District Health Unit is reporting 3 new cases over the weekend, all in the Thunder Bay area. One case relates to travel outside of northwestern Ontario. The other 2 exposure sources are still unknown at this time. The 3 cases being reported today are the only active cases in the district. Meanwhile, the Northwestern Health Unit is also reporting 3 new cases in the Rainy River District. There are now 7 active cases in the NWHU catchment area.
Ontario is reporting 613 new COVID infections and no new deaths today. 454 cases are in those who aren't fully vaccinated or have an unknown vaccination status. 159 are in fully vaccinated individuals. Colin DeMello has the latest details now on the province's vaccine certificate program and the plan to enforce the rules.
Nearly a week after the Ford government implemented a proof of vaccination program, the province revealed a blind spot. The Minister of Labour was asked today how many Ontario businesses have been charged with non-compliance.
I don't know specifically on that. We'll get you the answer, but my gut is, and what I've been hearing from people across the province, is they've been working together.
The Ford government boasted today that the province hired another 100 labour inspectors for a total of 500 in Ontario. But the minister said instead of enforcing the new provincial laws, inspectors will focus on making sure businesses understand the new laws.
And we are going proactively to businesses across the province with really an education-first approach.
Contrast that with previous pandemic measures. The Ministry of Labour launched inspection blitzes to check compliance with capacity, masking, and other COVID-19 rules, handing out fines and shutting down businesses in its wake. The Premier was reluctant to introduce a proof of vaccine program, and critics say the Ford government doesn't seem serious about enforcing it.
You would think that that there would be a good amount of monitoring as to how this was unfolding. There would be some communication and some feedback from businesses in terms of how they're being able to handle the new requirements.
The new requirements have led to clashes between anti-vaccine demonstrators and businesses, which seems to be frustrating vaccinated Canadians. A new poll shows 3/4 of Canadians surveyed have negative views of those who are unvaccinated, considering them to be irresponsible and selfish.
Well, certainly I'm the first to admit this is clearly challenging for people like Owen and those in the restaurant business. But what I've heard is great things over the last few days. People actually working together. I have overwhelming confidence in the people of Ontario to treat one another with respect.
Respect that seemed to be lacking outside Toronto's Eaton Centre this weekend.
Thunder Bay City Council will learn about the rules tonight regarding putting a question on the next municipal election ballot to potentially reduce the size of council. A report from administration was requested by Councillor Peng Yu in June. The specifics, including the process to formulate the question, are part of the information being presented. Plebiscite questions were used in 1998 on whether to give tax dollars to build the regional hospital and in 2003 to support a bylaw prohibiting smoking. Any addition to the 2023 ballots would cost about $40,000. In other business, Councillor Albert Aiello is bringing forward a motion to increase local ice rink capacity with deputations from members of the hockey community and a medical professional.
The Thunder Bay Police Services Board is expected to run $300,000 over its budget this year, and while next year's budget will likely be increased, board officials don't believe the overrun will be a regular occurrence moving forward. This is just the second year the police board has had its own budget separate from the Thunder Bay Police Force. The board recorded a budgetary surplus of $37,000 last year, but then in 2021, the board ran about $300,000 over the budgeted allotment. According to Board Secretary John Hannum, the original $223,000 budget was set at a time when the full extent of the board's operations hadn't yet been realized over a full year. Hannum adds there were also several factors that led to the high unfavorable balance here in 2021.
One significant issue this year was, not an issue, but initiative was the development of a strategic plan for police, which is a requirement under the Police Services Act. And the board elected to do some considerable community consultation in support of that plan development. Some higher than expected legal fees, and those are hard to control based on the issues that the board has to encounter and make decisions on, and general administration costs. And so those are the big areas, but as well, developing a communications plan for the ongoing support of the board.
Hannum anticipates the Police Services Board budget will be increased to somewhere between $300,000 and $350,000 next year, and the cost overruns experienced this year aren't expected to continue into the future.
OPP in Kenora have arrested a 43-year-old man in connection with a serious assault over the weekend. Police say a 66-year-old male victim was assaulted in downtown Kenora on Saturday afternoon. The victim has been flown to a Winnipeg hospital with life-threatening injuries. The accused has been remanded into custody. Anyone with information about the incident is asked to contact the OPP or Crime Stoppers.
A 49-year-old Thunder Bay man has been charged with arson in connection with a fire inside the Spence Court social housing apartment complex on Amelia Street back on September 2nd. A small fire was set in the second-floor hallway of the building operated by the Thunder Bay DSAB. Nobody was injured in the incident. The accused has been remanded into custody.
The new roundabout at Redwood and Edward Street opened on Saturday, and so far, things have been going smoothly. City police say there has been no reported traffic accidents or complaints in the first few days of operation. Danielle Bain reports.
Construction on the roundabout began back in June and finally became open to the public this past weekend. The city held multiple educational events beforehand so that residents could learn how to properly use it, and according to Acting Traffic Sergeant Sal Carchidi, it paid off.
To date, it seems like it's relatively seamless. We haven't received any complaints of collisions to my knowledge as of yet, which is a positive.
City project engineer Matthew Miedema was relieved after hearing there were no accidents reported.
Yeah, no, that's good news to hear for sure that there are no reported collisions over the weekend. That's great news for us to hear. People are following the rules of the road, and that hopefully that education days we put on there sunk into the people who are open to learning to it, and it's great news to hear for sure.
Although it's been smooth sailing so far, the city still wants to implement measures to make sure people continue to use the roundabout safely.
We are planning future programs as well, which will be geared towards how it's operating. So we will be setting a camera up at this intersection to monitor how traffic is using it and watching for common mistakes or near misses that are occurring here. We'll then take this data to make an informed decision of future education programs to blast out to the people out there, the public, to say here are more do's and don'ts based on common mistakes.
Police and the city urge those who aren't familiar with roundabouts to visit their website to avoid any confusion and to stay safe on the roads. Danielle Bain, TBT News.
The two main branches of the Thunder Bay Public Library began welcoming patrons back inside today following a cautious pandemic reopening plan. The Brodie and Waverley facilities have undergone several changes and upgrades during the pause, and now library users are excited to visit the bookshelves once again. Alex Flood has more.
Reopening day has finally arrived for the two classic locations of the Thunder Bay Public Library. Staff members at Brodie and Waverley have been busy over the last several weeks preparing for the reopenings, with new developments and additions across each hub. Brand new shelving has been installed at the two locations, along with the addition of new furniture and equipment. Chief Librarian and CEO John Pateman says he's excited about the recent upgrades, which were carried out during the pandemic closures. And although the doors are open, there are still some restrictions.
First of all, we hope people, when they walk into the big libraries, will have a bit of a wow factor, like, this is different, this is new, this looks good. But also there's a couple of things to remember around social distancing. We've got capacity limits, we've got time limits on how long they can be in the library. They should get screened at the door. So that reminds us the pandemic is still on. People who haven't got printers at home or technology to access their vaccine passports can do so at the library. So we're very happy to offer that service.
Each branch now includes an Indigenous Knowledge Center designed to educate the public and provide resources on Indigenous subject matter. At the Brodie location, the Fireside Reading Room features brand new furniture and shelves provided by Sheridan College, which collaborated with local Indigenous community members. During the pandemic, patrons were still able to borrow items without going inside, but after 18 months of libraries being mostly closed, the library users we spoke to were glad to be back to their regular browsing experience.
Well, it's great. I mean, the system here is really good given the size of the city, and it's neat to actually look through the shelves and find stuff that you don't expect.
It's just nice to be able to be back inside and be surrounded by the books again, because it's a very different experience than just placing holds online.
All 4 library hubs are closed on Sundays and will also be closed this Thursday to honor Truth and Reconciliation Day. And COVID precautions are being closely monitored at each location. If you're interested and want to get involved in local library programs, be sure to visit Thunder Bay's public library website. Alex Flood, TVT News.
Amy Paul announced today that she's stepping down as Green Party leader, and 3-time local Green candidate Amandamatajung now says Paul's resignation is an opportunity for the party to find its version of a leader like Winston Churchill. Paul's resignation is a part of a major change needed across all political leadership in Canada in the eyes of Matajung. She thinks the jabs thrown by Paul today at some Green Party members in her resignation speech reflect more on the former leader than the party itself. The Greens were in turmoil for much of her time as leader and put the fewest number of candidates on the ballot for a federal election since 2000.
Everybody has benefits and everybody leads in their own special way. Ms. Paul, actually, I quite like her. I think that she's very capable. Unfortunately, she didn't utilize the tools that were in front of her to the best of her abilities to get us all in a better place.
Matajung is hopeful that a new Green Party leader can be named in the next couple of weeks. Her choice would be former leadership candidate Dimitri Lascaris. We'll have more on Paul's resignation later on in the News Hour.
With the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation coming up this Thursday, the Dryden Ice Dogs decided to use hockey as a mechanism for change and to help bring awareness to the hardships faced by Indigenous people. This past weekend, the SIJHL Club organized a full day of events for the team and the community. After a visit to Eagle Lake First Nation, the Ice Dogs were joined by former NHLers Jamie and Reggie Leach, as well as residents at the Dryden Regional Training and Cultural Center. The father and son duo spoke about their experiences as First Nation players in the NHL and the need for cultural education. The Philadelphia Flyers legend and current Ice Dogs captain Cameron Ware both spoke about the importance of the event in Dryden.
We have to educate everybody on what's going on, to clear what's going on, making everybody responsible for whatever happened. I think it's very important for, like I said, is that to get the literature out there, let the people learn exactly what happened, and go from there. That's to me, that's the most important part of it.
For us to be one of the first junior hockey teams to have a game like this is huge. Obviously, I'm honored to be a part of it, but it's more than just us. It's for the people of First Nations communities, and as long as this keeps on going as it should, I'm really happy to be part of it this year.
Reggie Leach added he loves what the Ice Dogs are doing to spread awareness and hopes that other teams will follow suit. The day of events closed with a Truth and Reconciliation game at Dryden Memorial Arena where Indigenous former Ice Dogs players were honored. We'll have the highlights from that game between the Ice Dogs and the Thunder Bay North Stars coming up in sports.
The annual Pumpkin Fest at Gamondale Farm is back once again to celebrate the magic of autumn, and plenty of families came out for the opening weekend, eager to get back to the farm and enjoy all the fun activities. Mitchell Ringos has that story.
3, 2, 1.
For 27 years, Gamondale Farm has been a Thunder Bay family tradition. The event hosted a variety of activities, including picking a pumpkin, Canada's biggest pumpkin catapult, horseback riding, pumpkin rides, and many more. Pumpkin Fest has 600 tickets available per day, split up into 100 per hour, and runs from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the next 5 weekends, which includes Thanksgiving Monday along with October 11th, and runs all the way up until Halloween. The event is not only an opportunity to get out as a family, but also an opportunity for the kids to get some work experience. As Gamondale Farm owner Sue Gammon says there are over 30 kids from grade 5 up to high school entrusted to run the whole event.
It's probably going to be the hardest job they'll ever have because they have to deal with the weather, they have to deal with customers, and all the unexpected things that happen. But they want to be here, so it's a perfect scenario for them.
Gammon says that her whole life revolves around bringing joy at Gamondale Farm to the kids and families, and is happy to once again bring back the event everyone has been waiting for. Even the younger staff were having a blast as we talked to them about what it was like to work at Pumpkin Fest.
I think it's amazing. I just moved here. There's so much fresh air, and I think it's really fun for the community to come and for all the kids to go on the train.
I'm having a great day. All the community is so nice. Even just now, someone was low on money, and a random person came and gave them a $20 bill so they could buy a pumpkin. Yeah. It's going great.
It's so nice to work out here. Everyone is so nice, and everyone having so much fun.
Gammon says the event will be back next year, and if you have time to head out to Pumpkin Fest, you can still grab your tickets online. And who knows, you might even get a chance to set off Canada's biggest pumpkin catapult.
Mitchell Ringos, TBT News.
Well, looks like a nice sunny day out there for that. Yes.